right, guys. I hope you watched step number one and I hope it was helpful to you. Welcome to the martial art of selling. We're going to be talking about step number two on how to close more deals. It's going to be exciting. This is the one I like the most because this is where it's showtime. The guy, the client, the prospect gave me an opportunity to earn their business. They actually are watching the movie I'm producing. And now this is when they're going to realize that they're the leading actor in this movie that I'm producing. They're going to realize that they're the patient that needs a doctor like me to cure their disease. It might be, lack of cash flow, revenue's not good. But at the end of the day, they're going to know that what I'm offering them is for their best interest. Okay? If you watch step number one, you know that step number one is the opening of the call, right? And it sets the tone for the relationship. It's the trailer to the movie, right? Step number two is now you're into the movie. And let me give you an example. You ever watched a movie trailer where you got excited? You couldn't wait for that movie to come out on theater or at theaters before the internet came out, or when Netflix is promoting a certain movie that's coming out soon. They do these little clips and you're excited, right? You can't wait to see the movie. Well, that's what step number one is. But here's the thing is, if they give you the opportunity to go to step number two, you better deliver. Why? Because when you watched that movie or you saw that trailer and you went to the movie theater or you watched it on Netflix and you spent 2 or 3 hours of your time, or you spent a couple $100 if you have a family, you went to the theater and that movie is not engaging and it's not fulfilling your emotion and you get disappointed, you're pissed off, right? Well, why are you pissed? Because you were let down. You were excited. You gave your emotions to this movie and it disappointed you. And you probably won't see the sequel. You probably won't recommend it. You probably go home pissed off. Maybe have an argument with your wife because she persuaded you to go to the theater. Right? Or you watched the movie on Netflix when you could have been with your family. You decided to watch that movie and you were disappointed. Either way, it pissed you off, right? Prospects are no different. So step number two is the body. I call the body the storytelling. And storytelling has a lot of facets to it. Storytelling has to do how you handle objections, how you understand if it's an objection or buying question. You start to do discovery. This is where a lot of salespeople go wrong. They don't ask the right question. They don't qualify their prospect before they go to the order. They go to the order and then they realize the person doesn't have any money or the person's not even bought into it, that they string them along. So the storytelling is where you start to increase your value. I call it intrinsic value. What happens in the storytelling? Besides increasing your value, the prospect starts to see that they're the leading actor in their movie. They start to see you as a person that could really solve their problem in their business. And most problem is sales and cash flow. They start to feel engaged. They start to feel excited. They start to feel wanting to take ownership of what you're offering. They start to buy into you. Because if they don't buy into you, it doesn't matter how good your product or services is. They're not going to buy it because they didn't buy into you. So you have to make it about them, but you still got to sell you to them. Does that make sense? And this is where a lot of salespeople go wrong. They don't really qualify prospects in the story part of it because they're afraid to ask certain questions. And you will hate when it's time to ask for the order that they don't even afford it, and you didn't even know if they could afford it or not. Shame on you. It's your job to know if they could afford what you're offering, right? But here's the thing is, if you know how to sell and you know how to tell stories and you know how to give it rhythm and tempo, and you are really valuable, you become priceless. It doesn't matter what your price is. Because if they could afford it and you know they could and you did the right work, you pre-qualified, they're not gonna budge on the price 99% of the time. Does that make sense? So here's what I mean. This is how I won't get into all the story detail because I'll take forever. But let me show you how I get the prospect to afford my price. How do I get the prospect to know that they need to own this? Okay. So what I do is this. After I go from the opening and I'm in step two and I'm telling my story and they're asking me questions and I'm addressing the question, they give me an objection and I come with rebuttals. I'm going to share a couple of rebuttals that might come up. Okay. So as I'm about to transition from step two, the storytelling, to the close, okay, when I'm getting to the end of the pre-qualification, this is how I close them. Okay. So the first thing I would ask a prospect, I said, Mr. Prospect, if I brought you, first of all, I would ask them what kind of services they offer and what is their price range. And if they have a lot of services and product, then I look at what is your average price? What is your average customer worth? Right? Okay, so now let's say for argument's sake, their minimum service is $1,000 just for argument's sake. Okay. I don't want to throw the big numbers at. So what happens is this. If I brought to you, Mr. Prospect, 10 customers that are qualified that could afford to buy your services, how many of those prospects you think you can close? You'd be surprised. Most people say, I close 80%, 90%. They're not true. That's just their ego talking, right? So what I do is this. I keep it simple. I said, Mr. Prospect, I believe you could close 80, 90%. I don't have no doubt about that. However, let's keep it simple. Let's just say I bring you 10 prospects and you close one, 10% at $1,000. Okay. That's $1,000, right? Okay. So if we do that for 12 months at $1,000 in new business a month, and keep this in mind, Mr. Client, you have other products that you can upsell them. So that client is worth more than $1,000, right? But let's just keep it simple. So you get one new customer every single month because I was able to help you get that customer. That's $12,000 a year in new business, right? Yes. Okay. Now, Mr. Customer, if you know you could increase your revenue by $12,000 a year, right? How much are you willing to invest in you to produce another $12,000? Most people say, I don't know, it depends. Okay. Here's what I do for them to give me an answer. Mr. Prospect or Mr. Klein or John Doe, however you want to say it. Would you invest 5,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000? Ballpark. What did I just do there? I gave them the path of least resistance. So if I say 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, what are they going to usually choose? The lower number, right? 4,000. So, Mr. Prospect, you're willing to invest $4,000 if you know you could produce 12 grand on that, right? Yes. I just got them to commit. That's called a tie down. Does that make sense so far? Now I follow with this, Mr. Klein. So if you needed to do this or you wanted to do this and you know that you could produce at least one sale a month for $12,000, you're willing to invest $4,000. Are you liquid for $4,000 right now if you needed to do that? Think about it. Let's just say most people tell me yes. Yes, I could afford that. So you could write a check and your credit card would clear, right? Okay, great. Mr. Klein, I got some incredible news for you. My services that I'm offering you is $3,000. Let's just say that's my price. $3,000, which means I just made you an extra $1,000 because you're willing to invest four, but it's only going to cost you three. Now, here's where the closer comes in. Before we transition into the step three, you got to do this right. Let's say this prospect says they don't want to do it. I would say this, Mr. Prospect, I understand and respect that, but you just told me that you could invest $4,000 if you wanted to do it, you needed to do it, and that you have the money. And I'm telling you, I'm offering it for you for $3,000. And Mr. Prospect, you also stated that you could close 80% or 8 out of 10 of the prospects, right? So if you could close 8 out of 10 at $1,000 minimum, that's $8,000 a month in new business, right? Let's take $8,000 a month times 12. That's the new revenue you will produce, and my price is still the same. That's it. Now you know that you have a legitimate prospect because now you know they could afford what you're offering. They could afford your price. You're not guessing anymore. Now, whether they do it at that point or not it depends, right, on who you are. But at least even if they don't buy, you have a good qualified follow-up call. Does that make sense? So this is step two. I hope this was helpful. Step two is, the body is like building the body of a vehicle. You put the tire, the engine, the pistons. This vehicle is ready to go. It is ready for somebody to take ownership of it. It's just you need the person to put the key and drive it out. It's the storytelling. This is where you're going to know if you got a deal or not. This is where you're going to know, do you have a relationship that's about to start? And that's step three is just semantics. We won't get into it right now, but I wanted to prepare you for what step three is going to be, or the transition. So we transition from the opening of the phone call, setting the tone, having strong perceived value, getting them excited, getting them hooked, transitioning to the body. Hopefully you're engaging people. They're satisfied. They have a climax. They can't wait to take ownership of this. That's step number two, is storytelling, the body. That's where the meat and potato is. That's where you're going to earn your pay. Does that make sense? Well, guys, I hope this was helpful. Thank you for sharing your time. Again, if you're watching this on my channel, hit the subscription button below, smash that like button, share your comments, let me know what you think, and stay tuned for step number three. It's going to be a little bit shorter, but it's going to be juicy. You're going to love to hear the end result or the destination by doing step 1 and 2 right way. You're going to love the end result. You're going to love the results in what I call step 3, which is the closing of the call or solidifying the relationship. That's what step 3 is going to be. So stay tuned till we speak again. I say goodbye. This is Paul Cruz bringing to you Martial Arts of Selling. Have a great day. Bye.